at the end because I should have plenty of time. If I cannot get to your questions, feel free to email them to Sandy Barta here at CU. That's sandyb@cu.net. That's her email address. And myself or somebody will get back to you. So right now I am broadcasting my screen here, and because this is order entry upgrade chain, I'm going to go right into the order entry application. You can see I've got a shortcut right here under my favorites. But in case you're wondering where it's at, if you go to Browse Apps, you can go to the Order Processing Module, Entry folder, and there's order entry right there. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the application. We get a splash screen, and the application opens up like it always has with the mode menu wide open there. And what I'm going to do for this training is I'm going to go right into front mode. And then we're going to go through the process of creating an order. I'm going to show you all the changes that exist. And then after that, I'm going to go ahead and go into selection and show you the selection process. So front mode is highlighted, so I'm going to go ahead and hit enter for front. And the first thing you probably notice right now is that when you go into order entry, you get all these tabs across the top of the screen. So instead of going screen by screen, you now go tab by tab. That's probably the first major difference right there, is that you can go through these tabs. And you can navigate these tabs quite easily. There are hotkeys to navigate the tabs, or you can use the mouse to navigate them as well. And I'll show you both methods. So the first things first, before I can move on to any tab, I got to complete the first tab, which is the customer tab. So I'm going to go ahead and put in my initials. If I do a customer lookup, I can look up a customer. And I just find the customer I'm looking for. I can pick any one of these. I'm going to hit enter, bring in the first one. If this customer has any notes that have the behavior to show up in order entry, you're going to see it right here. So you can see right here, I just got a note here discussing the some delivery instructions. I could change this note, edit it, or delete it if I have that capability. Most of the time, you just look at it and acknowledge it. If I want to make this note go away, I can either click on Done, or since I prefer to stick to the keyboard, the Escape key. I'm all about keyboard shortcuts. So now that I've completed the first tab here, the Customer tab, my cursor's right here at Next, and I'm going to hit Enter to move on to the next tab, which is Line Items. And now that I've done that, now that I've moved on, I can navigate any of these other tabs at will if I want to. If I want to, I can take the mouse and simply click on any tab that I wish to switch to. Or if I'm into keyboard shortcuts like myself, here's all the keyboard shortcuts in you can see the hotkeys right there. I can click on any of those buttons right there to move on. So it's pretty much F7, F7 through F10, and if I want to get to file, it's Shift F1. So if I want to go back to customer, F7. If I want to go to shipping, F10. And if I want to go to file, hold down the Shift key, hit F1. I want to go back to line items, F8. So here on the line items, there's quite a bit to talk about here. So the first thing I want to point out is this. Starting at the top, this is where all the items that we order show up, and we put it in that .NET format. So this .NET programming, we've seen it in, say, customer-centric. We've seen it in Notes. If you've seen GL, we have it there as well. What that really means for me in order entry is that I can do a lot of customizations here. So I'm going to kind of go over some of that. But we do have that grid toolbar up here, and there's some other options here as well that I'll be covering with you. So first things first, let's get some items on the order. So right now, my cursor is down here at items. So this is the lower portion. This is where my cursor is at. And I'd like to point out these shortcuts down here, F3, F6, Control-O, and F8. So if I do F3, that's going to be an item lookup. I could click on the ellipsis button, these three dots in the box right here, or I could hit F3. For those of you that use the rental equipment module, I could search for a rental item right here by hitting F6. If I want to bring in order history in some way or look it up, that's Control-O. Hold down the Control button, hit the letter O for order history. And if I want to move my cursor from the lower area to the upper area where I have items on the order, that's F8. So let's start with the first one, F3. I'm going to do an item lookup, so I hit F3. I get the item lookup window. There's all the different ways that I could look up an item. So if I go Alt down arrow, all these ones exist. Let's do a simple item lookup. I'm going to go ahead and leave it at description. I'm going to type in the word glove. I'm going to hit enter. And now I'm here at exclude discontinued items. So this is a new feature. You can now flag items as being discontinued in the inventory file. And you can put whatever message you want with those items. And in order entry, when you do an item search, you can choose to exclude discontinued items if you want to. Now, if you want to include them, just simply uncheck this. I could either click on it with the mouse, or keyboard shortcut is simply the space bar, and that goes away. So if there's any items flagged as discontinued, they will still come in. The purpose of flagging an item as discontinued is so that you can deplete the existing inventory. So maybe I want to bring those in. Enter, that takes me to OK, hit enter again. And now I get a listing based on my search criteria of the word glove in the description. Now, based on that search criteria, I got all these items that we see listed here. But you'll notice that right here at the top, the first item that showed up is this Tillman 1075L. And we have this now new column here called Use. Another feature in the inventory file is preferred item. You can mark an item as being preferred. Preferred items will always show up at the top of any kind of search as long as they match the search criteria. So in this case, my Tillman welding glove large is marked as a preferred item in the inventory file. Therefore, it shows up at the top of the list. And in this use column, I get that little check mark to say, yeah, this is preferred. I'd rather this item be used over all the other ones that have come up. You know, you can mark an item as preferred maybe because maybe there's a better profit margin on it, something like that. So maybe I prefer to sell maybe a Profax tip over a Miller tip because maybe I get, you know, higher margins if I sell Profax tips, that kind of thing. So I can go ahead and select that one right there, or I could navigate and pick anything else. Let's go with the Mighty Glove. So I'm going to hit enter. That brings in the item. Everything at the top fills in automatically. Save is now highlighted here at the bottom. So if I hit enter again, it brings in the item. So enter is a pretty common theme here. And so what I'm going to go ahead and do is order this item. So a little bit of change in the buttons. We no longer have the buttons that show up kind of right here in the middle. All we have is all the buttons down here at the bottom. So as I'm entering in items, you'll see how these buttons come into play. So let's say this customer wants one pair of these Mighty Gloves right here. One is already highlighted, so I hit enter, and that brings my cursor down here to save. So to add this item to the order, I simply hit enter again, and now I have that item on the order. So enter is pretty much your friend here as you go through all this. I want to bring in some more items here. So what I could do is I can go into order history. That's Control O. If I hold down the control button, hit the letter O, that brings up a search window to search history here. And I could search different ways, invoice, number, order number, PO number, or I prefer that oxygen that I bought last month. It makes it very easy. So I'm just going to enter through here, enter, and you can see here by skipping invoice, order number, and PO, the order date, it automatically just goes back 6 months. That's fine. I could now narrow it down if I want to here at item. I can maybe put in a supplier line or particular item number. If I knew the particular item number, I'd probably just type it in. I'm going to leave it blank, hit enter for all, enter for all, enter for all. And now at Word, again, I can put in like glove or something like that. I'm going to run it wide open. Enter, that takes me to OK, enter again, and here are my search results. So let's say the customer said, yeah, I want that glove that I ordered, you know, back in October. Okay, I can highlight that. So I arrow down, I've got that Tillman glove highlighted. Now, I got a couple ways to select this. I could either click on select, or better yet, if you're into keyboard shortcuts, do this. Whenever you hit Alt button, like I just did, now notice that all my buttons they have some kind of letter underlined. That Tillman 1075 even indicated by that asterisk. I can never say that. Go and pick another item here. How about this this gas item right here, this oxygen 252? I'm going to select that as well. Alt-S. Enter. They got 3 last time. Maybe they want 2 today. Enter. Enter. Ship to. Return. Well, I don't know how many are coming back. I'll change that to 0. Enter. Enter. And how about an argon as well? Alt-S. Enter. Maybe they just want 2 today. Enter. Enter. 2. Enter. 0. Enter. Enter. Done. Now, if I got everything I want here, now I'm just going to simply click OK, or better yet, why not Alt-O? Take your pick. Oops. And of course, I flubbed it. There we go. So here's a little option right here, and you might see this. My Oxygen 252, the system's let me know that, hey, that product category that's currently there, that's not valid. And it's kind of giving me a recommendation. Hey, I want to use product category OX from the inventory file, since that's probably what oxygen is. Now, if I say yes, it brings it in. If I say no, what's going to happen is it's not going to bring in that item. It'll bring in everything else. So this is a way to stop you from basically bringing in an item that perhaps has an invalid product category. It's probably more important to go back and fix that. Unless I wanted to make the change. Yes is the default. I'll go ahead and hit enter and bring it in. So now I just brought in 3 items using order history. Another enhancement has been done with special items. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is this. I'm going to create a special here. So I'm going to create a Miller special. So I'm going to type in MIL, and since it's a special, I mean, you probably wouldn't do this, but I'm going to do it for demonstration purposes. Just simply type in the word special. Enter, enter. Item is not on file, obviously, so I'm going to say, yep, this is a special item. So I arrow down to special, enter, enter. And here's what the system does. The system goes through and it says, all right, here's the first product category I found with a Miller item, ZZ. Do I want to use that, or do I want to change it? Well, what if that's not correct? That's the wrong product category. I can change it. There's an ellipsis button right here. So let's say I want to change it. It's something else. I know ZZ is not right. So I'm going to hit F3. And what the system does now is this. Instead of bringing in all the product categories, this was a change. It simply brings in all the product categories that exist with this current supplier line. So right now, all my Miller items have either ZZ or these 3 right here. And I can just simply pick one of those to change it. Now, again, what if one of these is not correct? Well, then I can still search even further. So if this is correct, I can hit select. If it's not correct, there's a filter button. If I hit Alt-T, it's for filter. So I can click on filter or just simply go Alt-T. And now I can perform a search across all my product categories. Let me go ahead and run it wide open. I'll leave OK highlighted, enter. So now I can search all my product categories. And then so that was a bit of a change. When it comes to specials, the system will perform a product category lookup based only on the existing product categories for that particular supplier line. If not, you can search the whole thing and bring in the one that you want. So I got my product category, and I'm happy now. So I'm going to go ahead and order this special now. Enter, enter. It will definitely be back ordered. Enter, enter. And Mike special. Enter, 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 enter. Let's sell it for, how about $10? And it only cost me $1. Enter. No quick PO. Enter. Done. So I just brought in a special. That's the change I wanted to show you, that whole product category programming. Okay. There's really no other new changes here on the, oh yeah, one more change on the order entry screen. How could I miss that? Rental search. So let me do an F6 for a rental search. I hit F6. So this window looks the same if you are currently using our rental equipment add-on software, but we made a change down here. Before, when a customer returned a piece of rental equipment and wanted to purchase it, that was two separate transactions. Well, now you can do both at the same time. So if I wanted to, I can choose return and sale instead of just doing a return and then sale separately. So that was a new change there. So if you're using this application, there it is. And I'm not going to go forward with this. I just wanted to show that. Okay, now I'm done. So now to move on with the order, I got a couple of buttons here I could monkey with. So I can, if I wanted to, hit clear and then go next, and that will move me on to the next tab, which is the header tab. So a little bit of a new process here. So again, we don't have all the buttons at the top. What I want to do is I want to hit clear to stop this data entry, and then hit next to move on. So instead of that, now we just go ahead and do that, or I got a better way. I like to simply either click on header or, better yet, hit F9. Now some of you might not go to header and shipping tab. Some of you get those skipped. But I'm just making you aware that there's more than one way to accomplish the same task here. So I'm going to hit F9, and that moves me on to header. Now that I'm on the header tab, there's really no changes here. As you can see here on the header tab, everything is still pretty much the same. I can change any of these fields if I want to. Since there's no changes here, I'm going to simply move on. Oh, let me point out one thing. Charge has fees. If you're coming up from version 2, we completely changed the way fees work. So if there's anybody coming up from version 2, fees are completely different, and you have the option to not have fees be assessed on an order by simply unchecking that, but that is identifier controlled. So I'm just mentioning that because I don't know if there's anybody coming up from version 2, but if you are, that's just a change. All right, I'm going to hit enter. Now I'm at the shipping tab, and again, there's been no changes here. Simply pick the appropriate shipping method. I'm going to simply choose our truck and move on with the order. Ship date, yeah, today, enter. Next is now highlighted, again, enter. Now on the file tab, there's been a lot of changes here, a lot of changes. So right now, since I just hit the file tab, the system has automatically calculated several fees that have been added to this order. So it looks like I got some kind of delivery fee, some kind of hazmat fee, and some kind of AR fee. Okay, and there's not much I could do with this. Since I didn't uncheck that charge has fees thing, that flag there, all of these show up automatically. So if I don't want any of these, I'd have to have the identifier to unselect that charge has fees, and I have to go back into the order and actually remove them. Because what the system just did is it added these 3 lines. I'm going to go ahead and just simply accept this. So I'm going to hit enter. And now we're at the file tab itself, and again, there's been a lot of changes here. So I'm going to kind of point them out as I go along here. Starting over here on the left-hand side, notice the payment has defaulted to credit card. So for those of you that purchase our credit card add-on, you can now, in the customer file, say, hey, this customer always pays by credit card. And then this can default in. So that's why we're seeing credit card right here. So that was a new feature. If you have the credit card add-on, you can make a customer automatically default to payment of credit card. Now I could change that if I want to. For those of you that don't have the credit card add-on, instead of a payment drop-down field here, you would have simply the word charge with a checkbox in it. So that still exists. So if it's going to be a charge ticket, meaning that they're charging it to their AR account, you leave it checked. When you uncheck it, it makes it a cash invoice. So when you have the credit card system, whether you choose cash or credit card, that makes it a cash invoice. And then on the drop-down, if you make a charge, it's a regular invoice. So that was a new feature there, that credit card. Below payment here, we have something called mail. And there's 2 choices here. You're either going to mail or do not mail. So there's a new option here that says, yeah, I don't want to mail this invoice for some reason. Now, there are certain invoices that automatically don't get sent out to customers, like $0 invoices, for example. But in this case right here, I can say, on this particular invoice, yeah, I don't want this being sent out for a particular reason. So I could say do not mail. Now, not everyone will necessarily have access to this. This is identifier controlled. So the identifier is OE do not mail. In fact, let me type that in there in the chat portion. So it's OE underscore do underscore not underscore mail. So brand new identifier, OE do not mail. Grant it to people that you want to have this capability to say, yeah, don't mail that invoice. Over here under forms, there's no changes as far as ticket and pricing, but there's a change in the printer. So we now have the option to print out a ticket to a new printer, simply printer 0. Printer 0. When you choose to print to printer 0, instead of shooting the picking ticket to some kind of printer, whether using dot matrix or laser, doesn't really matter. Printer 0 means print the ticket to the screen. Show it on my screen instead. And when you show any kind of document on the screen now, it's pretty much being seen in a document viewer where you have the option to fax it, email it, and even print it. So I'm going to print this to printer 0. Now, this too is identifier controlled. So we have a new identifier called OE display ticket, OE underscore display ticket. I'm going to shoot that out to everybody too in the chat portion. So OE display ticket, brand new identifier. So I'm going to print this to printer 0 so that everybody can see it. And then lastly that we have here on the File tab is this confirmation. You can now send out an order confirmation. So this is a new document, and I'm going to go ahead and show you an example of it. And this confirmation, you have a choice. You can email it, you can fax it, or you can do both. I'm going to select both here to show you the windows that come up when I choose to do that. So here I go. I'm all done with this order, so I'm going to charge it, I'm going to mail it, I'm going to print it to the screen, and I'm going to send out an order confirmation. So here I go. I'm going to go ahead and say finish. I'm going to file it as an order. Enter. This is add-on programming. Most of you will not have this. And what's going to happen now is, oh, cash OE, forgot about this. Enter no cash today. Enter. I'm going to get the ticket on the screen, and I'm going to see it in the document viewer. So this is what my ticket currently looks like. Now, it's not too pretty. This is the raw text format. So if I want to make it pretty, I've got to come up here to View, and I've got to view it as a PostScript applied. So I click on PostScript. There's different PostScript forms that exist. The one I'm looking for is going to be Pick Ticket, and then OK. So now it's pretty. Let me go ahead and make it a little bit smaller because we're kind of seeing it blown up here. So this is what my Pick Ticket currently looks like. And I'm only viewing it on the screen. It did not come out on some kind of printer. Now, because I'm looking at this in the document viewer, again, up here at the top in the toolbar, I could still print it out if I want to, shoot it to one of my printers. But I can also email it and fax it as well. Now, emailing or faxing a picking ticket is not the same as a confirmation. They're two totally different types of documents. So I'm going to be showing you a confirmation so you get an idea of what that looks like. Anyway, right now, let me point out one more thing. You might have noticed on my picking ticket here, I got these little T's here. T's mean taxable. That is a new option called OE100. So option OE100, let me send that out to everybody. That indicates the tax on a picking ticket. If I had certain items here that were non-taxable, I would see a letter N instead. So I'll show you another example of that as well. But right now I'm done with my ticket, so I could shoot it to a printer, or if I'm finished with it, I can just simply close it out. And now I'm going to get a couple of pop-ups here because I chose to fax and email a confirmation. So right now what I'm looking at is a document viewer email window. So all I need to do is specify the email address, who I want to send this confirmation to, or you could also set up in the customer file to automatically populate the email address field. I'm not really going to email this. I'm going to go ahead and cancel it out. I just want you to see the window. And then the other pop-up window is the fax window because I chose to fax that confirmation. And again, this fax number can auto-populate from the customer file, or I could change it if I wanted to. And again, I'm not going to really fax it, so I'm going to go ahead and hit cancel here. So I've just gone through the process of creating an order. And what I'm going to do now is kind of take a little bit of a detour here and talk about that order confirmation since we mentioned it. So real quickly, bear with me. I'm going to bring up a document that is going to show you what an order confirmation looks like. Now, since this is a new document, like I said, there's going to be some other options and an application that are related to it. So the option is OE251. Because we're talking about an order confirmation, in a way it's like a picking ticket, but remember it's not a picking ticket, but it's like a picking ticket in that we can put pricing on it. We can put pricing on it. So there is an option, it's OE251, which controls that pricing. So let me put that in the OE251 confirmation pricing. So let's take a look at that. So first of all, here's an example of what the order confirmation would look like. So up here where it says shipping information, that's going to be the address that it goes to, order date, shipping method. And you can see over here, I have pricing activated on this confirmation, so I get all the pricing put on here, and it calculates it out to a grand total. Now that's completely optional, but it is controlled by that OE251. Now contrast that with pricing on a picking ticket. Pricing on a picking ticket works the same way. No pricing, individual pricing, or extend it out and give me a grand total like I'm seeing here. But that I can set on a per customer basis. That's not the same with an order confirmation. Order confirmation, it's either all or nothing for all confirmations for all customers, depending on that OE251. I'd also like to point out on this order confirmation here, these comments. There's two types of comments that can show up on an order confirmation. An order comment and additional contact information for your individual branches. So there's a new application that controls this. And I'm going to show you that application right now. So again, we're going to take a detour from order entry here. And the new application we have here is called OE Comment Manager. So that's under Order Processing, Setup, OE Comment Manager. It's a newer application, but it's very simple, and this is what we get. Let me see if I can make it a little bigger for everybody. What you have over here on the left-hand side is a listing of all your branches. And what you can do here is simply edit the order comment and the contact information comment areas. So for example, if I highlight, say, my branch 1 Billings, These are my order comments. Thank you for your business. We look forward to doing more business with you. And then I put the contact at that particular branch. If I have another branch, I might have different information showing up. So remember, these show up on the order confirmation down here at the bottom right-hand side. If I want to edit, that's fine. Simply click on the edit button. And then maybe in here, I could put Joan's email. And save. So editing and changing this, very simple program. That's OE Comment Manager application. Let's go ahead and go back into our order and look at some of the things we can do like order selection and whatnot. So I'm going to go back to my main screen. I still have order entry open here. Now right now I'm in front mode and I'm going to go into selection. I'm going to punch in my order. It was 501-195. And I'm going to go ahead and choose by line item here because I want to show you the selection button that exists here. I'm going back into order entry, back to the line items tab. Now, on the line items tab here, in the grid toolbar, we have all these icons here that does the same thing as any other .NET application like filtering and best fit. We have the options for customizing and whatnot. But when you're in selection, you get a new icon here called Select on Select. So if you want to start selecting items on an order, you've got a couple of ways you could do it. You could either click on that Select button, and that will select the line. Or, since I'm in the keyboard shortcuts, there's also Control S. Hold down the Control button, hit the letter S, and that works just as well. And by the way, this button is a toggle. So if I choose to unselect something for some reason, simply highlight that line again, and either hit Control S or hit the Select button, and that line becomes unselected. And while we're talking about order selection, let's talk about some of these other buttons up here as well. So for example, we have a new button here. Now right now that I'm up here and I'm editing and doing stuff, if I see that an item needs to be added to this order, I can go ahead and do that. I can click on this new button and my cursor will show up down here to add a new item. For those of you that prefer keyboard shortcuts, the keyboard shortcut is Control S. Hold down the Control button, Control N. Control N. N for new. So if I hold down Control, hit the letter N, now my cursor is down here. I can add a new item to this order. Now, next to that new icon, we have Insert. Insert. Let's say I'm looking at this order and this customer wants another pair of Tillman gloves. And I like to have all the Tillman stuff near each other. I want to be here inserted right below this existing Tillman item. I can highlight this Tillman item up here in the upper area and click on Insert, or the hotkey is, surprise, Insert on your keyboard. If you hit Insert on your keyboard, it'll have the same effect. Just for fun, I'll go ahead and click on this. So I clicked on Insert. My cursor is now down here where I can insert another item. So let me insert another Tillman item. How about this one right here? Enter, enter. Oh, there's a memo. Better read it. Enter, 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 done. So now you'll see here in selection, I've just inserted a new item, and the system was even nice enough to select that item for me. So insert and new, they both pretty much work the same way. Now during order selection, you might be interested if everything on your order is going to work okay. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to insert a problem item. I'm going to go Control-N for new. And let me see here. Let me see if I can go ahead and add an item that's serial tracked. How about a Bobcat welder? Yeah, better override it. Now this is a serial tracked item. Now maybe I forgot to put in the serial number. Well, I have to put in a serial number to select it. Now since I overrode it, it's now on the order, but it's not in a selected state. Now if you're in a particular hurry going through order selection, if you want to see those items that have a problem right away, under options here, we have something called verified lines. And there's a shortcut key, a hotkey, F12. So if I'm in here and if I hit F12, the system is going to let me know which line items have a problem. Oh, line item number 4. Oh, lot number. There's a lot number on line item 4. I guess I missed that one. Hit enter. And it cannot select line number 10. Serial number is missing. So F12 is a really wonderful function because it's going to tell you right away if you missed something or not. Just hit F12 and it lists all the problems for you. In this case, add 2. Guess I missed that one. Okay. So that's verify lines. One thing I forgot to mention, and I apologize for this, there's a new identifier, by the way, that controls whether or not an order person has access to the price and discount fields on the line items tab. And that is identifier OE_DSC price. Let me go ahead and put that down there. OE_DSC_price. So it's a brand new identifier. That gives or grants the order person permission to go into price and or cost and manipulate those. So a little bit more restrictions now on changing price and discounts here. And it works not just on the price and discounts here, it also works on the header tab as well, where there is a discount field. So a brand new identifier that kind of limits, who can go in there and do that kind of stuff. When we first came into order entry on this customer, we had a note pop up in front of us. And let's say, in the process of processing an order and all that, you don't recall what that note was. Maybe you want to read it again. Or maybe you want to add another note. What you can do is this. Under screens, we have profile notes. And if I click on this profile notes, it's going to reopen the note window. Now I can see that note that exists again. And also, if I need to, and again, it depends on my authorization, I can add another note, edit the existing one, or even delete it. So once you make the notes window go away, you can always bring it back if you have to. Okay. So this is everything that I wanted to show everyone in regards to order entry. There was a lot of new stuff here that I wanted to point out. So let me just kind of review it real quick. Starting at the top, we have all these tabs now. So you go tab by tab, no longer screen by screen. We have this grid format going on here. That gives us the capability to do that customization that exists in other .NET applications. You still have the option of viewable columns, printable columns, all that. You can move columns around if you want to. Item lookup, we have discontinued items. We have different buttons going on the line items tab. We no longer have those buttons in the middle. They're all down here. And I talk about how you can navigate them, either clicking on them or using the Alt button to reveal the shortcut keys. Order history does not bring in items with invalid product categories when you're ordering special items. Only the product category of whatever supplier line you use are the ones that are going to show up when you do a search, but you can search for all of them if you need to. We have new identifiers such as OE DSC price to access the price and discount fields. And for return and sale of rental equipment, you can do both now at the same time. You can always re-access the notes by going up here to screens and profile notes. You can use verified lines when you're in order selection to have the system notify you of any issues with any line items. On the File tab, we have new identifiers there as well, like OE Do Not Mail, to give a person the capability to not mail a particular invoice. There is also the credit card add-on to have this default to credit card for those of you that have the credit card add-on software. When it comes to tickets, I can print to printer 0 to print a ticket to my screen. That too is identifier controlled, and that's OE Display Ticket. We now have order confirmations. They can be sent out electronically by fax, email, or both. Order confirmations, they are not picking tickets, but they are similar to picking tickets in that we can have the options of pricing to price them or extend the pricing out. That's controlled by an option, OE251. There are comments that show up on order confirmations, and that's controlled by a new application called OE Comment Manager. That prints comments and contact information on those order confirmations. And now on our picking tickets, we can indicate items as taxable or non-taxable, and that's controlled by option OE100. You activate that option, and those little tax flags, whether it's T for taxable or N for non-taxable, that'll show up on your picking tickets for each line item. So that's everything I needed to show you. Looks like we even had some latecomers come in. I'm going to go ahead and mute everybody. It looks like almost all of you are on some kind of voice over IP. So if you cannot speak or I cannot hear you, please feel free to type in any questions you may have in the questions panel, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have. So I've just unmuted everyone. So does anybody have any questions over anything I've shown you? And if you're a latecomer, please feel free to speak up. I'd be more than happy to go back and show you something that I showed everybody else. So anybody have any questions at this time? And I cannot hear anybody, so if you are speaking, I cannot hear you, so please feel free in the questions panel to type in a question up there as well. And I will not judge you on your grammar or spelling, I promise. I'll go ahead and give everyone a chance to type that in. In the meantime, if anyone's typing in a question, as far as line items go, I didn't demonstrate the customization that you can do, but if you're interested, there's always the best fit, which I happen to like. And when it comes to order entry, customizing the order entry screen, there's two descriptions here, and I like to do this. I like to get rid of that first description because I like the full description. And I also like to get rid of discount because if you're like me, nobody gives discounts really. And now this is how my order shows up. And then I'd like to put the description next to the item. So if you customize it like this, don't forget to go to Options and save the layout. Okay, I didn't see any questions come up, so looks like maybe nobody has any questions at this time. So with that, I'll go ahead and conclude this training. I'd like to thank you all for attending. Hopefully you got a lot of new information out of this. And for those of you that are in my webinars later on today, I'll see you then. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.